Brought to you by JMR Rentals, professional digital cinema and broadcast equipment rentals in Brooklyn, New York. JMRNY.com. And now get 15% off your first rental when you use the promo code WEEKEND. Call 347-721-3400 or email info@jmrny.com for details. Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend, where we go behind the scenes and talk to the creators of independent entertainment. I'm Jason Godbey, and joining me via Zoom today, he is the writer, producer, and star of the new feature film, The Reunion, Mr. Dave Rosenberg. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, it's great to have you, man. I know you're cheating because your background looks like you're in New York with me, but you're actually in LA.
Well, as I told you before the show, I had some background envy, so I was just in my apartment. The lighting wasn't right, so I had to go and find the Brooklyn Bridge.
It looks good. We're definitely a New York show. We found out about you guys because of Soho Film Festival, which we've been covering since 2018, where you guys won Best Picture, which is fantastic.
Thank you.
And I want to get into that. I want to talk to you about the film, but first, I want to talk to you about you and kind of see, how you got to the whole acting, filmmaking gig, and what is your origin story?
I'm from Brooklyn. I was born in Park Slope, and we moved to Long Island when I was 5. So I grew up Atlantic Beach, and then went to Hofstra University. I wasn't Entertainment was not really on the agenda for me at all. I probably was headed towards going into the family business, which was real estate development. Except I realized I really wasn't interested in that. And I took a course in college, and an acting class, actually outside of my college. I was doing radio broadcasting, and that's what I thought I was going to do. I was doing sports broadcasting. I was doing the games at Hofstra. I started a sports talk show on the radio station there called The Locker Room, which is actually still running. And then I took an acting class outside of school, small acting class, and I fell in love with it. And after that, I got some parts, and that kind of got me started on the acting trajectory. And I had a theater company in New York. We did a couple plays. I did stand up in New York, and moved out to LA about 10 years ago and became a middle school teacher. And I've been doing that for 6 years, teaching kids English, social studies, and then also film and theater. And then a couple of years, this project that I had started with 2 of my best friends in my 20s came back to me, came back to us.
Is that how the reunion started? It started out like 20 years ago, and then and was that kind of the inspiration for the film as well? Well, first of all, for people who haven't seen the film or haven't seen the trailer, tell me a little bit what the film is about. Give me like a Hollywood log line kind of thing, and then talk to me kind of how it came about.
Yeah, so the film is about a guy confronting his childhood nemesis in their high school reunion. It came about because I ran into my childhood nemesis in Union Square in around 2002. I had just done a play where I produced it, and I was the lead, and I had gone up on my lines in a sort of really humiliating way, and led me on this sort of spiritual journey, as I was asking questions of God at the time. I spent a lot of time in Union Square reading books, Deepak Chopra, Celestine Prophecy, spiritual books, meditating, experiencing all these wild coincidences in the concrete jungle. And then I ran into this guy. I saw this sitting. I was having salad outside Cosi Restaurant, which used to be on 13th Street and Broadway, and saw this guy walk by, and it rocked my world. I told my 2 best friends, and one of them said, "You have to write about this," and the other one said, "You have to confront this guy because he's been haunting you since you're in high school." And so we kind of set about doing both. My buddy Andrea, who's in the film, kind of prepared me to confront this guy. He was a kickboxing guru in Australia. And then my friend Dins, who had said, "You need to write about this," he and I and Andrea would get together, and we would do brainstorming sessions, and we'd do improvs, and then I'd go off and write, and we'd come back together and do improvs, and I'd go off and write. And that's how things kind of came about.
I think the main question everyone's going to want to know: Did you actually fight this guy, or did it? Did that actually come about? Is this sort of a true story, or?
Pretty much everything that happened in the movie is true, other than there is one scene where I beat the shit out of somebody, but that didn't happen. I've had my share of fights, but that didn't really happen in real life. But everything else pretty much happened, and it was wild because like we would write stuff, and then it would happen in real life, and we'd things would happen in real life and we implement that into the story, and all the stars were kind of aligning. It's a great question that I anticipated more people asking, particularly in our Q&As. I did end up confronting the guy from childhood. We're actually Facebook friends now. Um, and it was fairly anticlimactic. I mean, we did have a moment where it could have gone in a certain direction, and it didn't, because he basically apologized and took responsibility, and I forgave him, and that was kind of that.
This is about the most meta I've seen a movie get, where kind of life imitating art, imitating life. Did that make the process? I mean, I would imagine it would have been pretty cathartic to make the movie, and you would have had kind of a not just a more authentic film, but kind of an authentic life experience. The other thing I would want to say is, when you're doing that, does that make it more or less challenging? Do you feel like, oh, this is getting into an area that's really kind of self-centered, and am I being too narcissistic, or too solipsistic, or whatever, or was it just kind of like, no, this is a true experience and it happened to me, and the movie's better for it, kind of thing?
I mean, it was cathartic. I think the whole process was cathartic. The writing was cathartic. Confronting him was cathartic. Working with my friends was cathartic. And I think the movie is cathartic. I think if there's one thing I want people to get out of it is a sense of healing, and it is sort of a revenge fantasy, but it's a revenge fantasy with a twist, and I think it is healing. Certainly has been for me, but many challenges came up within the making of the film that was healing, but also incredibly challenging, incredibly frightening, incredibly anger producing at times. It was everything. In terms of part two question, narcissistic, that's just something that I have to look at myself in my own life, my own narcissism, my own selfishness, etc. I don't know that the film is more of, or less of that. I think initially when we started it, there were questions. You're the writer, you're the actor, the producer. It's about you. Like, Jesus, how much of you can one person take? But for me, it was really about the story, and we've tried to make it in a way, in my opinion, where we want it to be a reflection of the person who's sitting in the audience watching it. So, for example, like the reunion we were struggling with, is it a 10-year reunion? Is it a 15-year reunion? We wanted to make it when I was 27. We shot it when I was 42. So is it 10, 15? And then we just said, let's just make it a reunion and not even say how many years, so that the audience, wherever they're coming from, whether it's 10-year reunion, 15, 20, for them, they see themselves in it. And that's how I really tried to look at it, as a universal story that people can relate to. And it's not a documentary, it's not a docudrama, it's not a biopic. It's a movie, but it happened to be inspired by real life events.
It's so interesting because it seems almost counterintuitive, but I find sometimes the more specific you make a piece of writing, the more universal it becomes, because people can sort of latch onto it. And I'm sure there's people who have been in that situation. And people, I remember I went to my 10-year high school reunion, and I went, I don't need to do this ever again. But people, some people want to go back, and some people do. They have that fear. And, maybe somebody will see this and think, oh, you know what, maybe I should face that again. You talked a little bit about some of the challenges. I mean, this show is largely about filmmaking. So you're writer, producer, you're in virtually every scene of the film. Talk to me about the challenges of doing that.
I consider myself an actor first and foremost. So the acting part was, I don't want to say it was easy, because it was challenging. I was really challenged as an actor, for sure. Both in the content and just in the filmmaking process, but that probably wasn't the hardest part. First of all, it was only 16 days. We shot for 16 days. I mean, I did go to New York and prepared for a year and all that, but the writing process took 15 to 20 years off and on. So that writing, I always find, is probably the most challenging. The producing was incredibly challenging. I mean, I ran a theater company in New York. This was 10 times that. If you have a list of maybe 10 to 15 things you need to do to get a play produced, you times that by 10 to get a movie made. List of 150 plus things. I was working with friends. I was working with close friends, so that was wonderful in terms of the chemistry on screen, in terms of the passion for the project. But it was very challenging personally. There were friendships that were broken. There were friendships that were rifted. There were friendships that have sustained. Um, so that part of it was really hard. Um, Man, there were a lot of things that came up that I didn't anticipate. You know, I tell people when they say they want to make a movie, I say get a good lawyer and make sure you have contracts for everything, because there's a lot of ambiguity that could lead to a lot of complications. So, you know, clarity is key.
A while back, several seasons ago, we had an entertainment lawyer on the show talking about that sort of thing, and people say, well, why do I need an entertainment lawyer? And it's usually, kind of like if a project's going to make money, or if you're going to, go to distribution, it's great to have all those things in place. Somebody's got to do it, and if it's your project, you either find somebody who's like really great at it and likes doing it, or you learn to do it yourself. So you said you shot this over 16 days. This is all in New York. Was that packed in because of people's schedules and things like that, or was it more of a budget thing? Like, we've got to get this done because we've got this amount of dollars to do it.
Yeah, I think it was more the latter. I think it was budgeting. I mean, I think I kind of left that up to people who know what they're doing in terms of that. You know what I mean? And they said it's 16 days. They're like, 16 days, let's go. And I mean, we shot it exactly the way that I wanted to shoot it. It was really guerrilla filmmaking. 4 or 5 scenes a day, no sitting around waiting. We would go. I remember one night we did like, I don't know what time we started, 6, 7 p.m. We went till 4 or 5 in the morning, bouncing around Brooklyn, and it was just fun. It was a lot of fun. It was hard. It was stressful, but it was fun. I mean, I remember shooting down the Lower East Side with my buddy Andrea, who, he and I have known each other for 20 years, and we went to acting school together. That's how we met. And he's, pulling up in his motorcycle, for his kind of money shot. And I'm just watching this, and I look over across the street. There's 75, 80 people watching, and cars. It was great. We shot for 4 days in Union Square, which was a miracle to be able to get Union Square. I didn't know if it was going to happen, and it happened. And we shot many hours there with people watching, and we had one point where I think the first day was gorgeous. The cops came over, and we were like, uh-oh, they're going to shut us down or whatnot. And they ended up hanging out and watching and talking to my dad, who was on set for a while, and it was pretty special.
Shooting in New York is a unique experience, and if you don't live here, it's like where he's talking about is it's right on 14th Street, and it's sort of a central hub right in town. And there's a lot of stuff right around there, and it's a very busy area. And a lot of things go on there, like protests go there, and there's musicians playing, there's people playing chess, there's all kinds of traffic. And the one hassle that I've always found shooting in New York is sound. Just trying to get like a clean sound take seems damn near impossible. And and a lot of people, like, there are certain things you can get around shooting without permits, but a lot of times shooting in a park, the second you put a tripod down, there's somebody asking you, do you have permission to shoot here? With the guerrilla aspect, were you guys running and gunning? Were you able to get the shots that you wanted? Do you have to compromise locations at all?
Yeah, I mean, we did get permission from Union Square, so we felt pretty good about that. We had done our homework and done our due diligence there. And with obviously you have all the people that are there, so we had to put down, signs that said, if you're walking by, you may be, participating in a movie. um, but I think you could shoot anywhere in New York, is my understanding, unless you put down sticks. And so, a lot of it was just handheld. I remember there was one scene that we did, God, it must have been about a minute long shot. And it was kind of going through, a big part of Union Square. And we were lucky because it rained that day. And so parks pretty much cleared out. So if you look at that one shot, there's not a whole lot of people there. And I'm not sure how we would have shot that if it was packed.
It's one of the many wonderful things about New York is just like trying to negotiate. I find that trying to shoot in New York is this case of trying to frame out what you don't want to see, because there's usually, there's like somebody mugging in your camera, there's people in your face, there's construction that looks ugly, and you don't want that in the shot. It's so hard just to like, and I think it does lend itself to that kind of street style, handheld documentary esque, which it sounds like that look. I don't know, who your DP was, but you have, it's like anytime a low budget filmmaking, like, you have to kind of go with your resources and go with the circumstances. So I'm sure that was kind of a thing where you said, you know what, if we use a handheld camera, that'll give it an energy and a feel. Is that kind of what you were going for when you originally conceived it?
For sure with that shot. for sure with that shot, we wanted a sense of chaos and movement and, kind of not knowing what's going to happen next, a sense of danger. But, this is director's vision. You know what I mean? I really didn't have a big hand in that. I sent him an email. I said, this is my vision for the film and this is what I would want to see. And, he and the DP kind of went off and did what they did, and they did a fantastic job.
You've been on the film festival circuit for a little while now. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Because, negotiating the film festival circuit in 2020 and 2021 has been an interesting grab bag of circumstances, of hybrid and, in person and online. Can you talk a little bit about like kind of your festival experience?
Yeah, it was a great experience. I had all these ideas, as as an actor and filmmaker, you have all these ideas about what a film festival is going to be, and all the glamour and all that stuff, and fame and fortune and all the like. And it just wasn't that. You know what I mean? It was a really nice experience. Our first festival was in Iowa. That's my producing partner's festival, Susan Gurel at Julian Dubuque Film Festival, which is a fantastic film festival in the Midwest. And you know what? We did 3 festivals, I think, in person, and it was really just about being with family and friends. It was just a great opportunity for us to get together. And we went to the Field of Dreams in Iowa, and saw some other films, and we had a great screening of our film. And then when we did Nyack in New York, we actually won the Nyack Film Festival, and that's my dad's town, so I was able to my dad was able to come, and I kind of highlighted him. He has a little cameo in the film as a Tai Chi guy in the beginning. So made a poster, of my dad and put it up there. And then we premiered at the New York Independent Film Festival. That was our official premiere. And that was great. We had like 3 sold out shows. We were only supposed to have 1 show. And we just, we had so many people in New York that wanted to see it. So we ended up having like 3 packed houses. And then Soho was kind of a surprise. We didn't, it was a virtual festival. So I honestly wasn't thinking that much of it. I would have flown into New York probably if it was live and in person. We were really excited to get it, and then winning was, that was a big surprise and a very pleasant surprise. We actually had 2 of our actors showed up they did have an in-person award ceremony. So they showed up and they called me and said, you won. And our actress won Best Actor, and that was very exciting. They sent us a lovely award, and it was great. The festival one was great, you know what I mean? But I can also look at all the festivals we didn't get into. I wanted to get into a bunch of international festivals, festivals in different states. We wanted to get into Tribeca because that's the big New York Film Festival, and so it was equal parts disappointment and then some really high highs and some good times.
We've been covering film festivals now for a while, for a few years, and it used to be that you went into a film festival so that hopefully some distributor might see your film and want to, sign you, but that's not really, doesn't seem to be happening too much anymore. When you guys went for distribution for this, was the fact that you had, won some awards and been seen and sold out a few shows, was that a factor at all? Did people look at that?
No, I no, I get the sense that they just kind of know what they want. They know what the market's going to bear. You know what I mean? We don't have stars. We have, our 4 leads are not stars. We made a decision very early on that we were going to act in the film, me and my friends. And so we knew that in terms of marketing the film, it was going to be more challenging. It was going to rest on how good the film was and the merits of the film rather than any names that we would have. And so I think when we went looking for distribution, and we had a friend of Susan's, DJ Dodd, who helped us to get the deal with Gravitas, which we're super grateful for. And we had 4 offers, which was really nice. We got to meet with all of the different companies, but we were grateful to get distribution.
I've seen that Gravitas has picked up a bunch of these, festival darlings, or they do a lot of work with independent films, and I kind of wonder. I won't ask you kind of what the deal is like, but what is the kind of experience like dealing with them? And do you give them your deliverables and they kind of take it from there and they do like a lot of the promotion, or are you still working on the promotion yourself? I mean, I know you're doing, the podcast circuit and stuff now, but how do you feel like about the Gravitas partnership and that channel?
Getting better. I think they have a lot of films. I think they're busy. It's the holiday time. But my experience has been there's been very little take it from there. There's always that, you know what I mean? Like with actors, like, oh, when I get an agent, everything will be okay because the agent will do everything. And talk to any actor, and what are they going to tell you? That their agent's not getting them auditions. So, well, don't count on anybody to do it for you. Like you said before, if you're going to produce a movie, it's your thing. You're the one who's going to do it. And I think I learned that as much as anything else. And so I've had to light a fire under a lot of asses. I'm not even sure if we're allowed to curse here, but okay. Um, but yeah, it's not even that. It's just it's letting people know how important this is for us and for me, and wanting the same passion from everybody that worked on the film that we have. And we've had that for the most part. And those who have not had that passion either didn't stick around, or it just wasn't the best experience. But most of the people who worked on this were very passionate. So, I reached out, a couple of times, and I let them know this is really important, and uh, I want the distribution company to be really behind this, because I think this film can do very well for them and for us. So I try to pick up the phone and have conversations as much as I can without being too annoying. Which, a lot of these times it's texts and emails and stuff like that. But I want to have conversations and get to know people. So I did have some conversations with some folks at Gravitas that made me feel much better. But it's a new partnership. We're early in the game, and we'll see what happens. As the film is put out there. But we're very excited, and we're super grateful to Gravitas.
Very cool. I've been meaning to ask different people because usually after they've come on my show, they've got to deal with Gravitas, so I haven't had a chance to ask them about it. What for right now? The movie you guys are going to be you're VODing in February, which is
Correct.
when this should air, which is very cool. And do you have any other projects on the horizon that you're looking at doing?
Yeah, I'm talking with some friends right now here in Los Angeles about doing a comedy web series or TV show. We're kind of getting started on that, hopefully in the new year. Kind of Seinfeld-esque type of show. Very different than the movie, much more comedy, which is something I've done a lot of. I'd like to like a little bit of lighter fare. But I also, like I said, I'm a middle school teacher, so I teach kids, and I'm going to be starting teaching film, I think, full time next year. So I'm very excited about that. We're partnered with an organization called YCP, Youth Cinema Project, which was started by Edward James Olmos. So we have mentors that come and work with the kids. And for me, I have 4 or 5 screenplays that are in different stages of development, and would love to do more acting when I can find time.
So, for people who want to find out more about you, about the movie, where can they find you on the web?
Yeah, our website, www.thereunionfilm.com, www.thereunionfilm.com. That'll take you to our trailer. That'll take you to our posters. That'll take you to our social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, IMDb. Our web guy, Jay Cruz, has done an amazing job. He's actually in New York. And I just can't say enough about our whole team. Forge company in Iowa who does our social media, EMPKT, Beatrice Kimmel who does our PR in New York, our lawyer who I had mentioned the value of that, Diane Bradshaw, who's also in New York, and my producing partners, Andrea, Monica, Dindoan, and Susan. I just wanted to give a shout out, and our entire post team, who I just recommended on a networking service because they're just so wonderful, all here in LA. And we did post pretty much all here in LA through COVID, without really being able to meet up a lot of the time. Our wonderful editor, Jonathan Shaw, Post Mango, Nick Repetto, who did the composing. Just it's just an amazing team. Lucien Palmer, who did our sound. You talk about sound, trying to get good sound out of New York. I think we were able to do that, and our sound guys who were on the ground as well. So just wanted to thank our whole team.
Fantastic, man. So we hope to hear more from you next time. Call us up. We'll have you back, and you could follow our website for release information as well. But I'm going to wrap up. Thanks so much for being here, and thank you all out there for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more of our content, visit our website, norestfortheweekendpodcast.com. Don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And now you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/getbehindtherabbit. Once again, I'd like to thank my guest, Dave Rosenberg, and our sponsor, JMR Rentals. For Behind the Rubber Productions, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.